for these AI companies, Anthropic, OpenAI, and so on, coding is solved. Now, again, for them, I don't share that notion. For me, AI does way too many mistakes and introduces way too much bloat and bugs and errors into the code base for me to blindly trust it. But yeah, who knows how things will change. What's interesting, of course, is that for these AI companies, code is kind of only the first step, and that's really important to understand. Obviously, we developers, we are the pioneers. We're amongst the first that really mass adopt these LLMs and these agentic coding tools, obviously, because, well, they're agentic coding tools, right? They were meant for coding, so obviously they're for us, and we're using those. We're using those, and you probably are using Codex, Claude Code, GitHub Copilot Cursor, any of these to help you work on your code. Now, what's interesting and what's important to understand is that for these companies, code is just the first step. They want you to use Codex or Claude Code for almost everything. This is an official post. It is about more than coding. And indeed, in Codex, you can also generate images. You can spin up a chat session, ask it to generate an image, and it gives you a special skill for that. It should also activate that on its own, of course, and it will use the GPT-Image2 model provided by OpenAI to generate an image. And you can then also follow up on that, include a logo and stuff. You can do that in the Codex app. You can also analyze sales in there or anything. You can do data analytics in there, so stuff that has nothing to do with code. Why? Because, of course, many things that you do on a computer can be solved with code and with the command line without you even knowing that code is involved. Of course, you as a developer do, but keep in mind, we're a relatively small group. For OpenAI and Anthropic, the more interesting part of the pie is all the rest, all the other white-collar work, all the people that spend their days working in Excel sheets or Word documents or crunching numbers, working with PDF documents. That is the more interesting part. We are just a small number of early adopters, we the developers. But it's the other part that matters even more. So naturally, these companies want to turn their apps into super apps that can do it all. And therefore, of course, fittingly, OpenAI announced computer use, which is not available in the EU yet, so I couldn't try it yet, but which is all about Codex being able to control any application on your machine so that it can even work with applications that are hard to control with just code and the command line. Now, one important note and shameless plug here, I created courses on Claude Code and Codex, and my colleague Manuel created a course on Claude Cowork, to which I'll get back in a second. And whilst, of course, the Claude Code and Codex courses are all about using these tools for coding, we have the Cowork course for teaching you the Claude Cowork tool that is about doing non-coding tasks on your computer with AI. And in the Codex course, I have all the content about coding, but also some content on performing non-coding tasks with Codex. So if you want to dive in deep and learn all the nitty-gritty details and tricks and tips about Claude Code, Codex, and Cowork, these courses may be interesting to you. And speaking of Cowork, Anthropic is following a different strategy. They also have Claude Code, and obviously they have the Claude Code CLI, which is probably the most common way for developers to work with Claude Code, but they also have their desktop app. And unlike OpenAI, they don't have the one big super app, which clearly is the goal of OpenAI, to turn Codex into that universal super app that can do it all and that works for both coders and non-coders. Anthropic, at least right now, has that split. You have the code part in the desktop app here, where you can interact with Claude Code as you can from the command line, essentially, use your skills, ask it to do stuff, and so on. But then you also got a chat area where you can, guess what? Chat with Claude, just as you can do in the web interface. And you got the Cowork area. And the Cowork area is essentially like Claude Code, but optimized for non-coding tasks. In Codex, you also have a setting where you can switch to a different work mode to kind of tweak some settings for non-techie people. So clearly that is their goal. Capture the overall market of white-collar work. Anthropic, with the model of having different parts in that app, OpenAI with the model of having the one super app. And of course, we will very likely also see other applications come up, third-party open source applications, like the amazing Pi agent here, for example, which is primarily about coding right now, but which again, you can use for anything because ultimately, as I mentioned, with code, you can do a lot on your machine, so you can use an agent like this too to ask it to do something in an Excel sheet or a PDF document, and it will figure out a way of doing so with code and command line tools. And that's therefore their vision. Now, the interesting part, of course, is that for me, coding isn't solved yet, not even close. And we'll see how that changes and how we as developers evolve. And clearly our role is evolving, and clearly we must use these tools and learn how to use them efficiently. But I guess we're still all figuring out how to do that. And I would assume the same happens for other areas of work. These AI tools can obviously assist with lots of work. The danger, of course, always is that you as a human get pretty lazy and you might not care anymore about the Excel sheet that was produced, for example. You might not double check it, and we'll see a similar learning process there as we see it for us developers. And we'll also see if that one super app strategy works out for OpenAI, or if it turns out to be a bit too confusing for normies to have all the coding stuff in there too, which is not super invisible, even if you do switch to that non-coding specific view. But yeah, their vision is clearly that code is just the beginning, and we'll see whether that turns out to be true or not.